I'm Melanie Wilkinson, and you're listening to Gen X News. Tonight, we have an urgent update from our roving reporter, Nosy Parker, who has been in direct communication with a representative of Gen X. Their message is to get those hashtags going and get them circulating, people. Please write these in comments of more than 5 words. Like, share, and repost as much as you can for each other. We have serious work to do here, Gen X. Leave no one behind. Our borders are open. Gen X, go to a campfire near you. On a lighter note, we are introducing a book at bedtime to soothe us and remind us of simpler days. Tonight, I will be reading an excerpt from a new book, Big Dreams in a Small Town, by Charlotte Jade. Chapter 1. Small Town Dreams. Wobetide was a wild child. He never did his homework and only ever wanted to play football, climb trees, and collect tadpoles. Growing up in the small town of Ashland in the 1980s, life was simple, yet full of adventure. It was a place where employment was scarce, and hope was a precious commodity. But for a 10-year-old with dreams bigger than the town itself, every day was a new journey. Sneaky Peeky, Nosy Parker, and Peeping Tom were Wobe's partners in crime. Sneaky Peeky, who would later become a roving reporter for Gen X News, was a master of disguise even as a kid. He rode his pushbike like a demon, constructing dangerous ramp jumps out of anything he could find. All the kids would flock to lie down in his flight path and see if Sneaky could build enough speed to clear all of his friends without seriously injuring them. A digit or two could easily be explained away, but the amputation of a whole limb would undoubtedly spark attention and questions. Parents would then dish out a whooping to all involved, especially the amputee for being stupid enough to receive an injury that necessitated a trip to the local county hospital. The adrenaline rush from these jumps was a precursor to the thrilling life Sneaky Peeky would lead as a war correspondent, where he witnessed horrors that left him with PTSD, chain-smoking and drinking more than was good for him. Peeping Tom, on the other hand, was a bit chubby and had an insatiable sweet tooth. He never shared his candy and was notorious for snitching to the teachers. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Tom, were both teachers at the local school, which made him even more of a target for the other kids' pranks. Peeping Tom would later become a photographer, his keen eye for detail honed from years of spying on his classmates. The 4 friends spent their days recording the top hits of the day on multi-tape decks, camping in the woods, and engaging in all sorts of mischief. The girls in their circle, like Tom's sister Tallulah, dabbled in witchcraft and had a chemistry set a deadly combination in the hands of any 8-year-old. Tallulah, always eager to experiment, often skipped reading the instructions, leading to many a mishap and minor explosion. Mr. and Mrs. Tom, dedicated to wholesome cooking and homegrown food, were in the midst of constructing a greenhouse. Much like their daughter, they paid little attention to instructions, resulting in a structure that was slowly taking shape amidst many arguments and mishaps. Mrs. Tom's bread, while wholesome, was notorious for its brick-like texture, becoming a family joke and a handy missile to have about one's person in case of sudden assault. Peeping Tom always ensured he had one in his pocket. Safety was a loose concept in Ashland. Kids carried BB guns with parental consent, with the golden rule being never to shoot anyone directly in the eye. Seatbelts had been mandatory to fit in cars since 1968, but many still saw them as optional. Racing to get the seat on the parcel shelf was a favourite pastime, and when the brakes were applied suddenly, the unfortunate child would often be launched forward, hopefully caught by a parent before passing completely through an open window. Injuries were a badge of honour. Chemical burns from homemade concoctions, shin scrapes from serrated bike pedals, and experimental inhalation of noxious gases were all part of growing up. Hospital visits were rare, reserved for only the most severe injuries that didn't heal after a week of home remedies. Kite fighting was a popular activity, with kids stitching razor blades into their kites to cut their opponent's strings. It was a dangerous game, but one that everyone participated in with gusto. That's all for tonight, folks. This is Melanie Wilkinson for Gen X News. Stay tuned for the chemtrail report in your area and the day's sports highlights.